G'day guys and gal, there isn't a single place more valuable to the Imperium of man than holy Terra, the birthplace of humanity and home to the Emperor. As well as being by far the most populated planet in the galaxy, it was considered so valuable that even after the heresy, where the world was completely desolated and low-key became a demon world for a bit, the idea of abandoning it was shut down and an insane amount of resources went into its reconstruction and repopulation. It's also the most heavily defended planet in the galaxy, making Cadia look like an outpost by comparison. But what if the unthinkable happened and holy Terra was lost? What would happen to the Imperium of Man? Would it cease to exist, or would humanity be able to adapt and continue onwards? Before we get started, about a month ago I launched my new supplement business, Natty Plus, with the idea of saving people time, money and convenience by combining various synergistic ingredients together in the same capsules instead of just buying multiple different bottles. The idea being, instead of using filler, why not just use more active ingredients? Now, I haven't been quiet about it since then because it was an elaborate rug pull. No, after our awesome launch, I just wanted to make sure our processes were in place and things were running smoothly. There were challenges. Our original courier ended up being shit, causing delays, so we fired that courier and are now using a much better one. I just want to be transparent and try to make things right if things don't go as smoothly as intended. For those that want to know more about the supplements themselves, our most popular is our testosterone booster, featuring 10 active ingredients, all scientifically proven to either increase testosterone, such as Tonkat Ali, or give you high testosterone-like effects, like the horny goatweed. Awesome for any man, as high testosterone is pretty much always a good thing. The ultimate estrogen reduction helps clear out excess estrogen, reducing high estrogen side effects like gynecomastia, water retention, and brain fog. Liver support is elite, protects, regenerates, and cleans out your liver, massively lowering your liver enzymes. Perfect if you drink, which, let's be honest, most of us probably do, or take harsh medications or PEDs. Ultimate blood sugar management improves insulin sensitivity and keeps your blood sugar regulated. One of its active ingredients, berberine, is often called nature's Ozempic. Then finally, the men's ultimate performance multivitamin, packed with essential B vitamins, amongst other hard to naturally consume minerals like selenium or glutathione. The formulas are elite. We even ran human trials, with our test booster showing a 50% increase in natural test levels and the liver support literally performing magic. My liver was healthier binge drinking in Europe while taking the liver support than it was when I was back home and did dry August without the liver support. We're also giving away $1,000 worth of free supplements over on our Natty Plus Instagram. All you need to do is be following, comment on the giveaway, tag a mate, and boom, you're entered to win. So to pick up your own Natty Plus subs for 10% off, then use code Majorkill or link below and be sure to enter the free giveaway on Instagram. Today we'll go over exactly what would happen to the Imperium if Terra was lost. Would it adapt or would it crumble? Let's get into it. Fortunately for me, we have actually seen some examples of how the various parts of the Imperium would react to losing Terra, and we know of various contingencies and immediate plans that would go into effect if Terra was indeed lost, so there actually won't be too much dark stabbing going on here. Currently, Terra is looking pretty solid in terms of staying alive, but there's a few potential Armageddons it could face in the current setting. Now, the first of which is if the Emperor was to actually properly die. Now, older lore suggested that the Talisman of Seven Hammers was a dead man's switch installed into the Golden Throne. If the Emperor died, Terra goes boom, and that's that. However, now we know that the talisman needs to be directly activated by Vulcan himself, so the Emperor's death wouldn't actually instantly delete Terra. However, it would allow the demons to rip through the webway gate and overrun Terra, which is arguably a lot worse. In this instance, the Custodies and other Imperial forces would hold back the demons for as long as possible, while as many valuable items and people would be saved and extracted as possible before the order was given to exterminatus the planet to stop it from becoming a demon world. Now yes, maybe Tyranids or Orcs overrun Terra instead, but it's the same result. Tyranids attack, overrun the defenses, Emperor is eaten, demons bust through, demons kill the Tyranids, Terra is overrun by demons, then blows up. It's the same dance, just a different flavor. Now when you lose Terra, you lose a few other pretty important things. The Emperor is gone, but also there goes the Astronomicon. Not to mention there also goes most of the Custodian Guard, as well as the technology behind creating new ones. There goes the High Lords and the headquarters of each of the Imperium's institutions, and there goes quadrillions of Imperial citizens. The warp would go dark as countless Imperial ships suddenly lose their lighthouse and would be lost in the warp, destroyed or forced to make an emergency warp exit, more than likely ending up in bumfuck nowhere and being lost forever. That is actually what happened when the Emperor got temporarily knocked out when the Great Rift opened, but this time it's permanent. Yes, Mars and other key planets in the Sol system would still be there, at least for the sake of this hypothetical, but now they wouldn't be able to safely leave the system without the Astronomicon. Life in Imperium Sanctus would quickly devolve to be similar to life in Imperium Nihilus, where they also do not have the light of the Astronomicon. Now, Imperium Nihilus doesn't actually seem as grim as Old Night did. Yes, warp travel and astropathic communication is difficult, but not impossible. Baal has become the capital of Imperium Nihilus, and the Blood Angels fight to protect what remains. remains. However, worlds in Imperium Nihilus are falling all the time, and there are even those that believe that they are the last Imperial world still living. Either way, life at Imperium Sanctus would get way shitter, but that doesn't necessarily make it an instant game over. Now when Guilliman, the Lion, and Sanguinius thought Terra had already fallen during the heresy, they established Imperium Secundus, a backup Imperium to continue the legacy of their father. They used Ultramar as the new capital, and were doing a reasonable job all things considered. However, they also had the Pharos device, a Xeno structure that acted in a similar way to the Astronomicon. It allowed for travel within Ultramar and helped guide many people to Imperium Secundus who were previously lost in the Ruinstorm. In a similar fashion, there was another Xeno device in Imperium Nihilus called the Coral Engine that also provided an Astronomicon-like effect. What I mean by that is it was like a beacon in the warp, a lighthouse that navigators could use as a point of reference to know where they were and how to get where they were going. Now both the Pharos device as well as the Coral Engine have both been destroyed, womp womp, so it does make it clear that for there to be a stable Imperium, there needs to be some kind of Astronomicon device. As a bit of a long story short as to why this is so important, the Imperium has singularly dedicated worlds. Their agri worlds produce their food, their mining worlds produce their raw materials, their forge worlds produce their machinery and tools. The agri worlds are entirely reliant on machinery from the forge worlds. The forge worlds are entirely reliant on raw materials from the mining worlds. Both the mining worlds and forge worlds are entirely reliant on the agri worlds for food. If travel between these worlds ceases, then they are all fucked. And travel would cease without some form of warp lighthouse. I don't even want to get started on how bad things would get on a hive world. Now yes, most worlds in the Imperium are civilized worlds, similar to our own modern day Earth, and are self-sufficient enough to survive without trading with other Imperial worlds. However, more than likely their defenses wouldn't be great, and all it would take is a splinter fleet of Tyranids, an Orc-War, Dark Elder Raiders, a Chaos Warband, or literally anything, and then that world is gonzos, as it cannot call for outside reinforcement. Now that is just the travel issue. The morale issue would also be horrendous. Losing Terra, the Emperor, and the Astronomicon all in one go would be shocking for the Imperium. Corruption would skyrocket as desperation would run rampant. The armies of the Imperium would still be vast, but now they are scattered and cut off from each other, unable to get to besieged worlds in time. The Imperium would have to make some hard decisions. Guilliman would likely return to Ultramar as fast as he reasonably could, probably using help from the Elder, and fortify his position there. Likewise, the Lion would gather his forces around another strongpoint. The Imperium would devolve into numerous pocket empires, concentrating their forces as much as possible to be able to fend off enemy invasions. It's unclear what the remaining Custodian Guard would do, the few thousand still in the galaxy. With the Emperor truly gone, at least from the mortal plane, there is a solid chance all of them could low-key become deranged and seek death in battle, each one fighting like an avatar of vengeance before eventually being slain. I can imagine entire shield hosts yeeting themselves at massive chaos formations, slaughtering 100 heretics for each golden boy slain. Some would stick to their purpose, staying with Guilliman or guarding key worlds or Imperial heroes, but they would mostly fade into obscurity. Now despite the morale loss, Guilliman and the Lion wouldn't just give up. Neither would many Imperials who would accept their new grim reality and seek vengeance. In many aspects, the Emperor would become a martyr. The most important thing for the new scattered Imperium would be to try and cover a new beacon or some form of new warp travel. The odds of there being a new beacon would actually be pretty high, since there's already been 3, or 4 if you include Dark Glass. The Imperium would also have to make some concessions and review some of its dogmatic policies that only really worked when they dominated the galaxy, such as restrictions on invention and innovation, as well as total xenophobia. More than likely, Guilliman would need to strike bargains with the Elder to be allowed to use the webway, as the Elder would also recognize that the Imperium was the bulwark they used to protect themselves from extinction. The Imperium would also likely form some sort of deal with the Tau, a true ceasefire in exchange for allowing the Imperium to use Tau faster than light travel, as the Tau can now travel decently far without the need for navigators or the Astronomicon. I'm sure the Leagues of Votan would also be contacted and a bargain struck. Basically, the Imperium would need to humble itself. Now some in the Imperium would reject this, but with Guilliman and the Lion both agreeing on it, which they would, especially the newly awoken, more humble Lion, no one else even gets close to the amount of power and influence to challenge that. The setting would take on a new form. The Imperium would be reduced to a more level in the playing field. No longer the Leviathan besieged at all angles, but now a spattering of worlds and smaller kingdoms loosely working together to survive. The galaxy would be more balanced, with the power ranking being more muddled. Chaos would indeed get a huge boost from this, being able to pursue their agendas more freely and take more Imperial worlds a lot easier, but they'd also likely run into the issue of a more united galaxy against them. Likewise, the Tyranid menace would massively explode in power, as it could now freely consume many Imperial worlds. Honestly, the death of Terra would probably trigger an end times against the Tyranids, with most of the galaxy needing to unite against them. Chaos would now have to take on the biggest share of the anti-Tyranid war, and may even end up regretting the fall of Terra in time. Regardless of what happens though, the Imperium would still live on, and not just as some sort of pathetic dying echo. As long as the son of the Emperor lives, so does the Imperium. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then pick up a Natty Plus supplement, or a few. Link below, or code Majorkill for 10% off. Hit the subscribe button, hit the real subscribe button for more Terra bull content. Join this call for more memes, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.